Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be breaking away, I guess you could say, deviating from my Taurus rising routine, and I'm going to break away from the chart rulers segment for a little bit, and I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Nelson Mandela's natal chart. As most of us know, Nelson Mandela, a great man, was a revolutionary philanthropist, politician, lawyer. He served as the president of South Africa from 1994 to 1999. Great leader, inspirational person, and died on December 5th, 2013. So anyway, let me get to start of talking about his natal chart. First thing I want to talk about his sun in Cancer. Obviously, very sympathetic, compassionate person. Caring for others, which is, very evident in his nature, obviously. Cancer is the sign of life-giving. He had 6 children. He was married 3 times, so obviously, love, played an integral role in his life. That's, part of the Cancer, namesake, I guess. And, basically, this is the side of him that is obviously, the side that is loving and the compassionate side of Nelson Mandela. Now the next thing I want to talk about, his moon is in Scorpio, and people with moon in Scorpio have inordinate willpower often and could add emotional intensity, and I think this could very well be the resilient part of Nelson Mandela. You talk about bouncing back from adversity. Incarcerated for 27 years, winds up becoming the president of South Africa from May 10th, 94 to June 4th of 99. So, we saw, this willpower, I believe, that side of him, is a lot of that's attributed to him having the moon in Scorpio. Now, his rising sign is Sagittarius. And, this is the side of him, I believe, very philanthropic, benevolent, and the side, the real, outgoing, gregarious nature, have perpetual smile on the face even when facing adversity, the incorrigible optimist, the person that has the, the attitude, not to worry, and, regardless of circumstances, and inspiring, happiness in many, and I think that's a lot of that's attributed to him having Sagittarius on the ascendant. Now, the majority of his planets are on the top of his chart, and I'm obviously not flabbergasted or surprised by this because obviously, he's was a very extroverted man, gregarious, outgoing. Like to do things, more, with others as opposed to doing them in solitude. Obviously work with the public, in a very strong way. And he was more, obviously more of a people person and, very, more objective as opposed to subjective. So I think, this is not a very thing where I wasn't really surprised at. So the next thing I want to talk about his chart ruler, which is Jupiter, located in the 7th house. Now this shows that partnerships and relationships can figure prominently. He was married 3 times, had 3 different spouses, so there was obviously a strong need, as far as relationships go. And relationships in general and with the public as well. He obviously figured strongly and prominently in his life. The law and legalities can play strongly, and he was a lawyer, attorney, so that's not really a big surprise. On the negative side, a lot of times people that have the chart ruler in the 7th house, can come across as adversarial or contentious to others, and, during that time he was incarcerated, obviously, maybe, people had perceived him as that, though fighting for a noble cause at the time, at least, So, anyway, now the next thing I want to talk about is his sun, a natal sun sign, Cancer conjuncts Pluto. Now, this can give someone a strong proclivity to transform and regenerate others' lives, and even in death, I believe he's going to have indelible impression left on a lot of people, and very inspirational. He definitely had an impact on people when he was alive, and giving people a lot of hope, and inspiring courage and ability to change others, impact others in a very beneficial way. And I think a lot of this is connected with him having his sun sign conjunct Pluto in his natal horoscope. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is his chart ruler conjuncts, his chart ruler being in Jupiter, conjuncts his 12th house ruler, which, his 12th house ruler being Pluto. Now, kind of reiterating a little bit what I said before in a way by talking about the same, well, not really reiterating, I'm talking about another conjunction actually, because his chart ruler, I was talking about the Sun conjunct Pluto before. Now I'm talking about his chart ruler being Jupiter conjunct the 12th house ruler, which is Pluto. And the 12th house ruler, that could be connected with imprisonment, confinement. So, maybe this is somewhat attributed to why he was incarcerated for so long. A lot of times, when the chart ruler in the chart, in this case being Jupiter, someone's chart ruler a lot of times is where the personality is expressed strongly, and in the sector of the house, in his case, which is the 7th house. But in this case, it also conjuncts his 12th house ruler, which is Pluto. So sadly but true, possibly, his personality had been expressed, in an incarcerated or confined situation for 27 years, which is obviously a very strong percentage of his life. So the next thing I want to talk about is that he has no planets and Earth signs, and Earth, a lot of times, he has the Virgo midheaven, which can modify this to some degree, but a lot of times when people don't have planets and Earth signs, it could give an indication of, maybe limited practicality and pragmatism. I do think, him having, the Virgo midheaven, I do believe this does help, immensely. I certainly don't see Nelson Mandela as someone that lacked practicality and pragmatism. Could he have had maybe a little bit more, if he had maybe 2 or 3 planets and Earth signs, that's a very strong possibility, though. I can understand where the perception could be, that maybe at times he didn't, fighting for, his ideals, and wind up, being in prison for a pretty long time for this. But, in his mind and a lot of people's perception, like I said before, he did this for, a noble cause, and, showed a lot of fortitude and courage in doing so. So anyway, people, that will conclude this YouTube astrological segment for part 1 of Nelson Mandela's natal chart dissertation. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about part 2 of Nelson Mandela's natal chart, and then I'll be continuing my astrological segments for the chart rulers in the natal horoscope. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel, but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis on a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because a person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.